to a large degree in life, I really accept that I just don't know things. I just don't know what anybody else is thinking. I don't know what's going to upset or offend other people. I don't know what people mean when they talk to me. I don't know what people are trying to do. I don't know when people are flirting with me, when they aren't flirting with me. I just don't know. And, I also feel like people have a tendency to overestimate how much they understand other people. Like, for me, knowing that people are commonly mistaken about something is a good reason for me to really doubt my own view of the subject. People commonly think that the place that they live is the best place to live. People have a common bias to think that the opinions shared amongst themselves in their group are more widespread than they actually are. It is very common for men to think that women friends like them, etc., etc. And so for me, I just kind of really push those judgments aside, and I try not to think of those things. But, I am extremely stressed. I've said before that, again, not that anybody's keeping track, that somebody thought that I was stalking them. I really don't think that I was. But after that, I was just thinking that I really never want anything like that to happen again. I don't really feel like anybody wanted to listen to me or to help understand my point of view on the subject. I think it's unfortunate that somebody else, thought that I was stalking them, but I also think that it wasn't true. And I think that we each have a responsibility to, have correct judgments as much as possible. I think that what you think about a person isn't based on what they are, but again, what you think of them. And I just want to have certainty, and there's something approximating it. I mean, I don't like the guesswork. I think that it's not reliable. I don't like to trust my own opinions. And I just try my best not to think about what is the case, but what would be okay for me to think. And so I just kind of go off of what people say explicitly. I just feel so exhausted. I feel like, like I'm an alien talking to people. I feel like just what I think is very, very different than what other people think. And I just don't think that people keep saying that I'm stubborn or that, hey, I get it, and then they'll say something that's just totally different from what I think. And I don't really know for sure if I'm in the right or if I'm in the wrong here, but I really just have nothing else to go off of what I think. If you can't trust yourself, you can't trust anything. I just don't know what to do. I feel like I develop feelings for people, and then it just this long of I just don't know what they think. I don't know if this is a good idea. There's a lot of things that I don't know about them. There's a lot of things that they don't know about me. And I just feel so sick of that. I mean, I'm not inclined to go out and meet people. I don't really like the prospect, but I also feel like, I'm not just going to randomly bump into people that are going to, that are going to work with me. But I really also just don't think that I'm worth the effort, frankly. I know it's common for people to think that they're not worth the effort. And, that makes me a bit skeptical of my thinking that, but it just makes things painful. I feel like if I could really accept and really know that, yes, I'm not worth the effort, nobody is going to think otherwise, everybody's just going to see me and be like, yeah, not worth it. And then I could at least find a way to work towards adjusting myself to that. But I feel like I need to constantly have my feet, in both sides of the fence here. I need to, think about, well, okay, how am I going to adjust if I'm really not capable of connecting with people? But also, well, okay, well, maybe I'm not sure about that. Maybe I need to, it's just hard for me to think in both ways at once. It's painful. It's going back and forth. And, I feel like I've just been disappointed so many times. I don't really feel much point in being happy, just because I think being happy is tied to what you think and what your expectations of the future are. But I know that my expectations are so wildly wrong, every time I get this sort of happy feeling, I just think about all those times in the past that you had that happy feeling, and then it just crashed and burned. It makes me feel like I want to do everything, just to sort of, everything that I can to crash and burn things on my own, just to feel like, I've got to a point where I've done everything that I can think of, and everything's still okay. So I guess maybe I'm going to be okay this time. But, just talking to people and then being like, yeah, you're fine, yeah, you're fine, yeah, you're fine. And then suddenly I'll have a problem. It's like, you know what, I was lying when I said that you were fine because I didn't want to hurt your feelings. But now I just can't deal with it anymore. I'm sorry. And I don't think that that's good. I think it's better to be honest than kind with people, because I think that, you're withholding something from them. And I think that it's not my responsibility to tell you, I don't think that you should be unhappy. I'm going to keep this information. Not saying that you have to tell people everything, but I think it's just outright lying. If you outright lie to me about being okay with me, I don't know how much responsibility I have to probe and to make sure that you're telling the truth to me or not, if that's what you're explicitly telling me. But I don't know if I'm in the right. I just want to, I just want to feel like these things aren't going to happen again. I don't know what I was going to say. I just feel like what I think is very different. And I feel like, I want to know the people that I'm spending the rest of my life with, because I want to be able to, think about other stuff. I don't want to have just this constant stress to the point where I feel like I can't do the sort of things I want to do, because the things that I want to do are very thought-intensive activities. I feel like I can't go home and read a book and start thinking about, all these complicated things when this sort of stuff is happening. I feel like I need to always be doing something to address my problems. Like, I look at the situation I'm in, and I'm like, well, I need to do something. And, I guess I just wish, that people don't like the way that I am, but it's like, it's to a degree that's tolerable. Like, I can deal with this. I can, people, I imagine people say, okay, I don't like this, I don't like him, but it's still not so bad that I can't deal with it and that I can't pretend that I do. I wish that I could be either so bad that people can't pretend that they're okay with me anymore, or that, if people like me, then they actually do. Yeah, why am I saying this? For a number of reasons. I don't really think it's my place to think about what's going to come of the things that I do or say, because I can't know. Again, I can't know. In the grand, thinking about the big picture for me, and thinking about how I don't know what people think to me, that doesn't give me I should be cautious. I just can't know, and I'm just going to do my thing and hope it goes well. Because that's all you can do. I remember, I think that there was something that I read, but they say success is like a ladder. Whether you go up or down, your position is unstable. It's only when you can keep your feet on the ground that you can maintain your balance. And, for me, I like Indian and Chinese literature the best, the classical Indian and Chinese culture. And there it's often, you're not supposed to think about consequences. Thinking about consequences and what other people think of you are things that will distract you from doing what you're supposed to do. If you're doing the right thing and other people think badly of you, then it's on them, because they're not using their intellect correctly to form correct views. They're not being cautious. They're thinking things that aren't true, and they're not being cautious. And there's not a whole lot I can do about that. It's not good to worry too much about whether other people are going to think that what you're doing is right, because what other people think is right is often wrong. It's just something I have to accept. I think that religion is a very important part of society in many societies, and it's very intimately connected to what people think is okay and not okay. Like I said, I like reading Arabic stuff. I like learning about, like, Saudi Arabia. And, people are like to say things, well, that's how they do things in Saudi Arabia, but not here. And my point is that I don't think that most people would accept that if you go to Saudi Arabia or some country that is wildly different, you should accept what they do as being okay, because I think that really gets rid of any distinction between okay and not okay for me, is to say that okay is whatever is okay in your society. And I think that many or most societies don't think that way. Like, people will say things like, you have your view and I respect that. But I think that, a lot of people's views is that there are right views and wrong views. Like, that's something, I think that there is a right way to think and a wrong way to think. And I feel like my view isn't being accepted when it's not being accepted that that's part of my view. But I don't think that I'm worth the trouble of trying to think this hard about what I am thinking. But again, just because I think that doesn't mean it's true. And I'm just stressed, and I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to express myself, and whatever comes of that, I don't know.